Do you want to play an emotionally driven platform adventure metroidvainia game that will pull on your heartstrings so hard you'll revert back to the same childlike wonder you experienced being taught the circle of life? When there is immense character investment and sacrifice in just the first few moments, come on, you know it's gonna be good. My name is Snoopers, and with the imminent release of Ori and the Will of the Wisps knocking on our door, we're going to dive a bit deep into a beautiful journey and experience its pioneering predecessor, Ori and the Blind Forest. We start off our journey with a giant storm afflicting this magnificent landscape. A Jabba the Hutt-like narration with echoey reverb gives us a Mufasa feel as the stage is set for a wondrous journey with foreshadowed peril. A lit feather-like being is ripped from the tree during the storm and lands into the forest floor below. We are then given control of Naru, a friendly, fat, furry, no-face mother-like creature who notices Ori won't stand a chance exposed to the elements, but immediately accepts Ori as her own. And we get this very wholesome cutscene of our two characters enjoying just life together. A time-lapse shows the two working for a common goal we can all relate to: the glorious joys of food. I can definitely relate. Cue Jabba Baba narrating again, and he's all like,
"Yo, where the hell my girl Ori? I need her and shit."
And he's all like,
"I know, I'll spread my life far and wide so Ori can see it and follow it back to me."
I was like,
"Yo, this light is like dangerous, dude. Let's chill out here until it's done."
Little did they know that this was actually the spirit tree calling for help. Without answering the spirit tree's call, the consequences started to slowly manifest itself in the form of decay and rot. Naru does what she can to provide for Ori and pays the ultimate price. Before Ori suffers from the same fate, the major motif of the whole game is introduced. New hope is born. The spirit tree is awoken and Ori is revived. After traveling through the forest a bit, Ori finds Sign, the light and eyes of the spirit tree. Sign is Ori's protector and guide, an important companion for the rest of the adventure that fries enemies with electricity. Sign's message is clear: find the spirit tree and find the tree you do. We discover the origin of the decay. Our main antagonist, Kuro, stole Sign from the spirit tree and would directly result in the affliction of the surrounding forests. The spirit tree sustained the three elements of light, and in turn, they brought balance and kept the world of Nibble safe. The elemental milestones are Ginzo, the element of water, the element of wind within Forlorn Ruins, and the element of warmth beneath the fires of Mount Haru. To restore Nibble to its former self, it is up to us to rekindle their light before it's too late, and we set off on our adventure. Ori and the Blind Forest was developed by Moon Studios. Unlike any other studio I've ever heard of, this studio was a worldwide collaboration of designers and programmers from Austria, Australia, Israel, to all the way back to the USA. Gameplay programmer David Clark described the team as being inspired by current and classic adventure games, most notably Rayman and the Metroid franchises, and honestly, this is prevalent in the game. The fantastical use of environment and magic, more akin to Rayman, yet the seriousness and non-linear exploration of Metroid. Combined, this led to one of the best games I've played in recent times. Thankfully, I got to play the definitive edition. This expansion contains new areas, mechanics, and artwork. Specifically, it adds an easy, hard, and one life difficulty to levels, and enables fast travel between spirit wells to help traverse the game's world. Going into this, I didn't know this definitive edition would come packed with so many differences. I can only appreciate this game more knowing how much replay value it packs. Throughout the game, you are constantly introduced to new obstacles, strong storytelling, surprising plot twists, and rewarding exploration. Obstacles that require abilities learned through progression of reaching ancestral trees, the only things left behind by your fallen comrades. One of the most rewarding abilities I experienced through my playthrough would have to be the bash ability. Not only do you require an additional lift on enemy projectiles, but you can bust open skulls on your enemies to gain lift that way. You're not really Mario jumping on, say, a Goomba for extra lift because you still have to time when to use the ability. You also don't have to be directly on top of enemies to do this. It gives you a really wide sense of creative possibilities to complete your tasks and also a feeling of accomplishment to be able to execute them. Throughout the game, there are a total of 11 abilities to learn and master. Not all abilities are necessary to complete the game, but every single time you find an ancestral tree, you are delighted to experience more and more freedom to traverse obstacles in new and interesting ways. It keeps you going. Suddenly, things that seemed impossible earlier in the game become a simple walk in the park this time around, and that is rewarding in every possible sense. Wall jumps, charge jumps, double jumps, every new ability refreshes the game in a new light, and that's not something you get very often. And the saving. Now, a lot of people have actually complained about this feature, but I think it's genius because it's used very strategically. In addition to save points scattered in the game, players can create soul links at any time they choose to serve as checkpoints. However, soul links can only be created using energy cells collected during gameplay. The needed energy is not in abundant supply, forcing players to create them only when necessary, and I can't tell you how much I hated myself and not the game for not creating a checkpoint after dying and realizing I just lost a crap ton of progression. But as we travel through Nibble with our new tricks, we keep unraveling the story. Upon reaching our next marker, a Goomon from Forlorn Ruins has stolen the water vein from Ginzo. That tricky motherfucker. At first you think he's just another selfish bad guy doing what bad guys do, but Ori feels pity and is kind to the Goomon as she frees him from the boulder that has fallen onto him, rendering him helpless. This kind gesture doesn't go unrewarded. The Goomon willingly gives Ori the water vein. This leads to what I like to call our first platforming boss. See, besides Kuro, the obvious main baddie of the game, instead of traditional boss battles to defeat, we face incredible feats of level design. The hardest being the levels restoring the elements to their former glory. Once you do this, you are in a platforming race for your life, as the actual stage is looking to kill you. You must use all abilities you have learned until that point to survive. Here's what it looked like attempting it. And here's how it looked like playing it. So make no mistake, these stages are bosses personified through pure difficulty alone. And having this unique take just makes me want to dive deeper into the game. No pun intended. After you narrowly escape, you unfortunately are faced again with Kuro. You fall to what seems like your demise, only to be saved again by your own kindness. Honestly, this game is just a big smorgasbord of wholesomeness. Catching up, we find Kuro is blocking your path to progress. We slam its freaking head to knock her out of the way. Because of this, a lone feather of Kuro falls off and we are introduced to the glide ability. Or as the game puts it, Kuro's feather, which allows Ori, as you can guess, to glide freely or ride a wind current.
Please advise the following events might be a bit confusing to follow.
Needing to go through the misty woods, you find Atsu's torch. You must take it to the shrouded lantern to get you out of this misty funk. After some laser mushroom climbing, you finally reach the end, and you have to carry Atsu's torch back to the shrouded lantern to get Gumon's seal to open the Forlorn Ruins. You use the seal and enter the ruins. Apparently, we discovered this is where Gumon live, and that Gumo and his species were responsible for building some crazy structures. You'd be able to build a lot faster too if you used both hands and any extra extremities. After some quick Gumon death reflection, we find the Light Vessel. Constructed by those crafty Gumons, the Light Vessel allows you to walk over Gumon structures that are hot to the touch and affect your gravity. Unfortunately, this seems to be another transporting quest, which I am not a fan of. Again, I just don't like using items to do things to progress, but halter current abilities. Kinda takes away from the freedom I've been feeling throughout the whole game. However, it does force you to try to give a more critical view of how to solve puzzles. Now, this ice section of the game was some of the most confusing platforming I've ever been introduced to. In hindsight, it wasn't that hard, and what I'm about to say is just my opinion, but I feel they didn't really show you how the gravity can really be utilized early on. I wanted to collect this artifact in the far right, but because I wasn't fully aware of how the gravity altering platforms worked, it didn't dawn on me to use them to change my gravity perpetually until I fall off the platform. It's a small nitpick, but for me, once I understood it, the rest of the level was very enjoyable. Getting creative with the gravity platforming until we finally reach the end and restore the elements of wind. Now, while Sign makes some triumphant comments about commemorating the Gumon race, Gumo overhears this kindness once again. Moved by their words, he saves the shrine that powered everything the Gumon built. We see this shrine used again later on in the story. And back to our current situation, we're faced with the second platform boss of the game. This time, we're strictly using the feather to get out of this mess. Harder than the last, we make it through, and we find something peculiar. An egg. Touching it, I guess, allowed Ori and Sign to see what dramatic events took place. It gives us insight that Kuro isn't just a mindless, hateful creature, but that her hate is justified. the radioactive sparkle light the spirit tree used to try to call us. Actually, fried Kudo's babies. But considering Kudo committed mass genocide, I was ready to have the world wither away because of it. Here's how I felt about it. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Right on cue, Kudo shows up to try to kill us. The next chase sequence is short, but introduces Kudo's attack phase as a foreshadowing escape yet to come. Our next goal is the Sunstone, but to get there, we must get through Sorrow Pass. Utilizing the tons of airstreams to your advantage, you traverse carefully in a prickly environment filled with enemies. Destroying rock and rubble blocking the windstream is your prerogative to progress. And I gotta say, it was really satisfying to move through this part of the game. Being able to destroy an obstruction to then be immediately whisked up to your goal was very rewarding. At the end, we are met with the Sunstone, the final piece needed to enter the fires of Mount Oru. But the gravy train of success doesn't stop there. We experienced relief and joy to see Gumo's full character and redemption by doing the unexpected and reviving Ori's caretaker, Naru. After unlocking Mount Haru using the Sunstone, word of advice: please fill up on life and soul links. I made the fatal error of not doing so, and my stubbornness led to 30 minutes of dying until I decided I needed to turn back and fill up. This place is not easy. Not only do you have to worry about insta-kill lava everywhere and jumping constantly on this hot stone so you don't take damage, but you're going to be dodging enemy fire, and the only way to get on top is to use that bash ability on enemies. In the mountain, you're going to solve many puzzles. Now, granted, we are rearing the end of the game. It is understandable the puzzles are getting very difficult, but there's this one particular that was infuriating. Fuck this puzzle. If you've played this game, you know what I mean. After deactivating the element of warmth, it's finally over. I suddenly have the appetite to eat some eggs again. Welcome to the hardest platform boss in the game. Kudo is chasing you down through the fire and the flames, and you'll have to do everything you've learned up to this point to be able to survive. The bash ability, Kudo's feather, and charge jump are the most notable of abilities necessary to surpass this challenge. Raining fireballs, fire projectiles, and rocks galore. This one is hard. I don't blame you if you get frustrated. Those feelings are well justified. This ain't your grandma's platforming. No, this one is gonna take a lot of balls of steel. Reaction time of a god, the mental stability of a monk, the prowess of a cheetah. I beat it. And what do you get after you beat the game? What exactly happens to you, Naru, Gumo? Well, I would love to know because my game crashed in the end. I loaded up the game and found that it put me right back where I started. I knew this was the end of the game and I simply didn't have it in me to beat it again. I just looked up the end cinematic. Here's another spoiler alert in case you want to beat the game yourself to see this. Ori is stopped from reaching the spirit tree, but just as it seems to be her demise, Naru picks up Ori and cradles her like a mother, bringing back flashes of Kudo's memory with her past children. Kudo is reminded of the one unhatched egg that remains. Acting fast, she grabs Sign and throws her into the same cradle of the spirit tree where she initially snatched her in the beginning of the story. This brings the spirit tree back to life with his radiation light, and Kudo makes the ultimate sacrifice a mother can make. The fires are put out. Life grows once again. We see a happy Ori, Gumo, and Naru rejoicing in peace and serenity. A family with one final addition. Taking a dive, I can say I give this game a 4 bits out of 5. This game is worth going deep. Play through it multiple times at different difficulties, try new ability trees, collect all possible secrets in the game. I picked up and played Ori and the Blind Forest simply because of the surging hype surrounding Will-o'-the-Wisps. I succumbed to all the talk and I couldn't have been more satisfied with my experience. It was a platforming dream come true. Beautiful environments, extremely satisfying abilities and progression, emphasis on puzzle solving and exploration. Even though we faced a few frustrating moments, they are easily overshadowed by what this game has to offer. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to let me know I'm pushing out the best content possible. Tell me in the comments below if I gave it a fair judgment. What was your favorite part of Ori? Are you excited for Will-o'-the-Wisps? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.